She had spent years cleaning every corner of a world she was never meant to enter. Polite, quiet, invisible, until the night everything changed. Invited to a lavish party as a joke, she walked into a room full of wealth, power, and expectation. Everyone laughed, thinking they knew her place, but in seconds, their assumptions would crumble and a truth they could never imagine would be revealed. How does someone's society has tried to rewrite the rules in a single night? This is the story of the night she stunned the privileged, and the world would never forget her name. Evelyn Carter had always been quiet, a presence that blended into the background. Her days were spent scrubbing floors, polishing silver, and tidying corners of a world she was never meant to be part of. She moved through the grand Lockwood estate like a shadow, her work flawless, her voice soft, her existence unnoticed. To outsiders, she was just a cleaning lady, the invisible thread keeping the mansion immaculate. Outside the estate, life was simpler but no less demanding. Evelyn lived alone in a modest apartment, a place filled with memories of hard work, small victories, and dreams quietly tucked away. She had ambitions, a past, and dignity, yet no one in the glittering halls of wealth saw any of it. Then came the invitation. A black-tie gala, a night for New York's elite, handed to her with a smirk and a laugh. The rich and powerful expected a joke, a spectacle at her expense. A borrowed gown, nervous smiles, awkward steps. They thought they were in control. But Evelyn didn't see herself as they did. Beneath her calm, a storm waited. Every polished floor, every ignored word, every sideways glance had prepared her for this moment. She was ready to step into a world that had never welcomed her, and to show them just how wrong their assumptions had been. The stage was set. The chandeliers gleamed. And Evelyn, unnoticed for so long, was about to become impossible to ignore. The night of the gala arrived, shimmering with gold, crystal, and expectation. The Lockwood estate was alive with a hum of whispered names, clinking champagne glasses, and laughter that dripped with superiority. Evelyn stepped out of the car, her heart steady despite the storm of nerves that had tried to grip her. She wore a gown that felt like armor, her hair perfectly styled, her posture deliberate. Every step toward the mansion was measured, every breath a silent declaration. She belonged. Inside, the elite were oblivious at first. Glasses raised, toast made, smiles sharp with condescension. But then the doors swung open. All eyes turned. And there she was, not the timid, apologetic worker they expected, not the figure to be mocked or ignored. She was radiant, commanding, undeniable. A hush fell. For the first time, the invisible became the unavoidable. Gasps rippled through the room, whispers tangled in disbelief. Socialites adjusted their posture, their laughter faltering. Damien Lockwood, the man who had handed her the invitation as a joke, froze mid-conversation, champagne glass trembling in his hand. He had anticipated a caricature, someone awkward and apologetic, a display of his power over those beneath him. Instead, he was confronted with confidence, poise, and a presence that refused to be diminished. Evelyn moved through the crowd, each step deliberate, a silent challenge. Eyes followed her, some with admiration, most with discomfort, none with the cruelty they had anticipated. The atmosphere shifted from amusement to tension. The joke they had plotted for weeks was unraveling before their eyes. Whispers turned to questions. Who was she? How did she know to wear that gown, to carry herself with such authority? Damien approached, forced charm plastered over panic. He attempted a laugh, a light comment, but the words faltered on his tongue. Evelyn's gaze met his, calm and unwavering, carrying the weight of unspoken truths. She did not speak yet, but the room felt her power. Everyone had assumed she was a nobody, a figure of fun. But assumptions have a way of backfiring when confronted by reality. The tension escalated further when Evelyn reached the center of the ballroom and subtly revealed a photograph tucked inside her clutch. Eyes widened. The whispers grew louder. A young woman in the picture stood arm in arm with Damien's father, decades earlier. A secret none had anticipated. Questions hung in the air, sharp as knives. The elite had laughed at her, dismissed her, assumed their privilege shielded them from challenge. But the truth she carried was unstoppable. The room teetered on the edge of chaos. Damien's smirk was gone, replaced by panic. Murmurs of disbelief swirled around Evelyn. The air felt charged, heavy with the weight of revealed lies and hidden histories. Every guest, every socialite, every power player was forced to confront their assumptions. What had been a night of arrogance and mockery was spiraling into a storm of revelation, and at the heart of it stood Evelyn, quiet yet commanding, ready to turn expectation into upheaval. No one in the Lockwood estate realized yet how the night would end, or how the scales of power were about to shift forever. The room froze. Every laugh, every smug glance, every whispered assumption evaporated into stunned silence. Evelyn placed a photograph on the center table, letting it speak louder than any words ever could. The image of her younger self with Damien's father shattered the illusion and control the elite had clung to for so long. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Damien's face drained of color, his confident smirk replaced by disbelief and fear. He had believed he could humiliate her, reduce her to a punchline. Instead, the truth struck like lightning. His own family's secret, hidden for decades, was now exposed for everyone to see. The tension thickened as Evelyn's eyes met his. No apology, no hesitation, just the weight of decades of overlooked dignity and invisible labor. The guests leaned in, some whispering, others frozen, all captivated by the reversal unfolding before them. Every expectation Damien had built around privilege, and mockery crumbled with each heartbeat. Then came the final blow. From the corner of the room, a man stepped forward, the family attorney, holding a sealed document. "Your father's was been updated," he announced, his voice cutting through the stunned murmurs. 50% of the estate goes to Evelyn Carter, effective immediately. The room erupted in shock. Damien's world, the empire he had taken for granted, teetered on the edge of collapse. His wife clutched her pearls, socialites whispered frantic questions, and cameras flashed, capturing every expression of disbelief. Evelyn didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She simply stood, the embodiment of justice long overdue, a storm that had been brewing quietly now unleashed. The power she had been denied for years was hers at last, not because of cruelty or revenge alone, but because she had endured, because she had existed when no one wanted her to. Damien opened his mouth to protest, to argue, to reclaim the night, but it was too late. The shift had already occurred. Every eye in the room saw it. Every assumption about who belonged and who didn't had been shattered. In that charged, silent moment, one question hung heavier than all the rest. Could privilege survive when confronted by the truth it had tried so desperately to bury? By midnight, the gala had transformed from a playground of privilege into a courtroom of truth. Damien Lockwood, once the master of appearances, was now exposed, humbled, and powerless. The socialites who had laughed at Evelyn now whispered apologies that rang hollow in the cavernous ballroom. Cameras had captured every moment, and the world outside was already buzzing with the story of the cleaning lady who refused to be invisible. Evelyn didn't revel in their discomfort. Her victory was quiet, measured, profound. She had taken more than wealth. She had claimed recognition, respect, and justice. Every step she took toward the center of the room, that night echoed the years of labor and dignity the world had ignored. She had been underestimated, dismissed, and even mocked, but she had turned every slight into fuel, every doubt into power. Her life had changed forever, but so had the people who had witnessed it. The room had learned a lesson many refused to acknowledge. Privilege and prejudice can blind even the most powerful, but truth cannot be contained. Evelyn's triumph wasn't merely about inheritance. It was a statement, a reminder that systemic injustice leaves scars, but those who endure can still rewrite the story. Outside the Lockwood estate, the city buzzed with the ripple effects. Conversation sparked, headlines screamed, and a wider audience saw, perhaps for the first time, the cost of dismissing someone because of the color of their skin or the title they held, or didn't hold. Evelyn's courage had become a mirror, reflecting the biases and blind spots everyone had been too comfortable ignoring. And as she walked through her new world, one thought lingered. How many others like her had been denied recognition, dignity, or opportunities simply because they didn't fit society's narrow definitions of worth? Her story was a victory, yes, but also a question, a challenge. A reminder that the quiet ones often carry the storms. And when those storms arrive, they cannot be ignored. If you believe in justice, truth, and standing up against unfairness, hit subscribe now and join us. Because stories like Evelyn's aren't just meant to shock. They're meant to inspire, empower, and remind us that no one should ever be underestimated.